good. Let's start over from the beginning and let's just go over it. So,
okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast, and today's guest is the fantastic Lachler Werner, right?
Werner.
But he is related to Shane Warne, the Australian cricketer.
Yeah.
No, he is basically, he's a very interesting guest today, and he's going to let us know about the fantastic world of puppetry, ventriloquism, and of course clowning. And he's put them all together in a fantastic noodle soup.
Wow, thank you for that. That's a great. That's. I'm really glad that we had to start this again because that introduction was really a payoff.
You're going to put that in Edinburgh, are you?
Yeah, that's it on my posters. Yeah, noodle soup. A fantastic noodle soup.
So, how are you doing, Lachlan? What's been happening? How have you been entertaining your day? What you've been doing since lockdown?
It's been all right actually. I'm quite lucky, and I've come home to stay with my family, and so I'm back in the West Midlands, which is not a very exciting place, but kind of appropriate for not doing anything. And I'm working at the moment from home. For a science museum, which is a bizarre thing to have ended up happening. But yeah, that's kind of filling my day at the moment.
How? What do you do for the science museum? Do you get the puppets to teach student lessons? What's going on?
No, I wish actually. I was working there for a while in Bristol. For a few months before lockdown from January, and then I was doing this kind of presenting job basically where it was mainly facilitating kind of activities and sometimes presenting kind of sciencey shows and telling stories and things. And then lockdown happened, and I've kind of had a weird promotion with no pay rise, and so now I'm doing kind of digital content production for them and having to plan lots of kind of online events and stuff for the meantime, to kind of keep their audiences going. It's kind of opening up a lot of new avenues for me, which is pretty cool actually. It's kind of been bizarrely a big learning time. It's not a very chilled out lockdown compared to other people's, I think, and most other people within the kind of organization are on furlough, so it's kind of funny to just be one of the few people holding up an organization now.
Hello?
Hello?
I missed most of that. You were doing bits all I got was that you did some presenting in Bristol. You're going to have to go through that bit again.
Okay. Was that me or you? Do you know that just cut off then? I'm worried that...
I don't know. Let me just check. I mean...
Oh, gosh.
Let's try. I'll test something out. It could. No, it's okay so far. I'll double check the internet. My phone, the dial. Yeah, it worked. So it's all good.
Yeah. What was I? Where was I? Yeah. So I started doing some. Yeah. Kind of presenting sciencey shows and stuff in Bristol at this museum, and then lockdown happened, and I kind of ended up getting this accidental unpaid promotion, well, no pay rise, and just kind of making digital content for them. So now it's kind of opened up loads of weird avenues, I guess, for me as a kind of producer and learning a lot of skills in kind of banal stuff in marketing and all of that stuff, but like really useful for me actually in my own work. But yeah, just kind of learning to make online events and stuff for them. And my big job for the last few months has been running fortnightly online toddler activity mornings, which actually the clown stuff that I've done has been ridiculously useful for, because it's meant just like making up stupid songs and kind of guiding really silly activities. And yeah, it's kind of been a funny time of like realizing that toddler audiences are very, very similar to drunk adult audiences. Not a lot of difference there.
Really? Oh.
Oh, I think so. Just like realizing, yeah, the kind of stuff that kind of makes people laugh as a clown, at least. Maybe not so much for stand-up stuff, but like within the kind of clown stuff, it's like, oh, the clown stuff just might be like slightly dirtier or slightly more dark or slightly weirder, maybe. But it's just about pushing it that little bit further, I think, for adults. Kids also like this like stupid kind of playing that doesn't necessarily have any point. And yeah, it kind of all comes from a pretty similar place, I think.
It's so you, yeah. What so you've had an interesting sort of what's I mean, we met in Goliath like a few months back, and so you say now that you're mostly, so you've written a book on being like in both sides of the pond. You've written a few books, and you've done numerous sort of fringe shows with your puppet. And tell us about that story. How did you come into being a puppeteer?
It's such a weird one. I learned to do ventriloquism when I was like 7. And the reason was really, growing up, had loved Jim Henson and the Muppets, and that had been like the thing that made me want to be on stage, I think, in the first place. But then also kind of as I got older and YouTube kind of was just a thing when I was like 7 years old, I guess, or at least it kind of just was for me. And then I suddenly had this like world of being able to see other people doing ventriloquism online, and was like, I should learn to do that. That's amazing. That's the best thing. And it's kind of like that weird like, when people sort of ask me now to teach ventriloquism, I'm always like, I'm not sure, because it's one of those things where you learn as a kid and it stays with you, but you're not sure how it's sort of a weird resilience that kids have, where they're just like, I want to do something, so I'm just going to learn to do it. And I don't know if I was to try and learn it as a 21-year-old now, I don't know that I would have the kind of determination to like really stick in it. But yeah, I just kind of picked it up and learned it, and then started performing with it when I was about 10 or 11, and I don't know why it's endured. I think I should have probably grown out of it. It's one of those things that's just so kind of almost too twee to do as a grown-up, I think. And it's just kind of on the border of like, it's probably time to grow up and do some adult comedy, but actually it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It seems like this is what I'm still doing. And then, yeah, I kind of did start to have a period of wondering why that was what I was doing. And I think I did a show, which I did a couple of fringes in 2017, and I didn't have a very good time doing it, and felt that I was like really slipping towards just wanting to kind of direct and not wanting to do the ventriloquist stuff within a show. And yeah, it just felt like it was becoming this kind of heavy thing that I didn't have a lot of joy in anymore. And then I went to Goliath and decided I just needed to kind of do a thing that would make me funny, I guess, and also make me figure out how to just have my own fun, which thankfully the school did do for me. Like that kind of, it did give me that, to be around the people that you meet at the school anyway, but also just, yeah, Philippe's stuff kind of did work for me to some extent, I think, and it kind of did open a lot of doors. And I feel like I kind of uncovered this thing where I started reevaluating the idea of a clown being a ventriloquist, and this idea that like maybe I'm not an actual ventriloquist. Maybe my pleasure is in kind of playing every stereotype of a kind of ventriloquist who hides behind a puppet, and this person who's kind of silent and doesn't speak for themselves. And then it's really a big payoff for the audience to see that person come out of themselves and be a clown and be an idiot themselves with no puppet, and the audience are then really excited to see that kind of human emerge and be an idiot themselves. So that's kind of what I've been playing with for the last like year or so, which I think seems like quite a wanky thing to say, to be like, I'm not really a ventriloquist, I'm a clown who pretends to be one, because I am, and I do ventriloquism. But it's kind of, I'm kind of learning to love it again from a slightly different lens, I think.
How does it work in terms of ventriloquism? What are some principles that you apply when you're doing it? Because it's more than just, as you said, stick your hand up a doll and like in Jurassic Park with the poo, whatever, the Triceratops. It's more than that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because it doesn't really feel like more than that to me, I think, at this point. I think I've been doing it for so long that it feels like it's just this really stupid thing. And when people after a gig will sort of really pick up on that to me and be like, how did you not move your lips? How do you do that? How do you do that? I'm always like slightly, I think, a bit, grumpy about it, because I feel like I offered so much. I was really funny and I did this and I did this, and all you care about is me not moving my lips. But actually, I like, that is obviously a very important part of it. And it's sort of like, it's like learning another language, I think, which is, again, why I think I could do it as a kid, but maybe wouldn't have the patience to do it now, is it's just learning how to like substitute all those letters that you would use your lips for. Once you've kind of mastered like, oh, B is a G, and an M is an N, and a P is a K, and all those things. And you just, when you've done it for long enough, it starts to be this kind of second language, I think. And then you just have kind of free reign to find a puppet or a character or whatever that kind of complements you. It's just finding something which, as long as you kind of have I think a sense of self, knowing I look this way to an audience, the audience sees me as this kind of character when I'm on stage. So I need something which really counters that, something which kind of gives that contrast and a sense of kind of a kind of playful image, I think, is all that's really important to start off with, something which is really silly. So I have this witch character. She's kind of the one that I've been working with for the longest and seem to have kind of the silliest relationship with, I guess. And I guess the counter there is that she's an old lady and I'm a young boy, and she kind of will just scream, and she's huge and kind of big and feathery and extravagant, and she just shouts and kind of is this egomaniac. And then it's really fun for me with that to kind of play tiny, bashful, kind of doesn't ever want to speak, gauche character that she can really counter. And as long as you kind of have that kind of ridiculous contrast, I think you're kind of on the right lines. But it's important that the ventriloquist is sort of as much of a character, I think. It's not about just like learning to do, because if I feel like a lot of ventriloquists don't kind of play themselves when they're on stage, and it feels like they really, I don't know why they're there sometimes. I feel like why are they not just doing kind of Jim Henson and getting under a table and just doing some puppetry? If I think you are as important as the puppet, always kind of. That's one of the kind of big mechanics that I guess is kind of a secret to when it's done well, I think, is that the ventriloquist should be as present as the puppet.
So the main point I got there, that the ventriloquist has to be what with the puppet? Has to be one with the puppet, or there has to be conflict, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess not. Yeah, not one. I think opposite. I think be aware that you're like really get into the mentality of like we're two separate entities. I think enjoy like being that kind of a bit split down the middle, which sounds mental. It sounds like I'm absolutely insane. But enjoy the kind of thing of being like, this is a totally different character. This is a totally different side of me, and I get to play half of myself, and this is the other half, and split yourself up a bit. Quite fun.
But what are sort of like 3 bullet points, and I mean in bullet points,
Mm.
sort of things that people should look behind the curtain when it comes to ventriloquism?
Okay. Okay. One is the character moving when the ventriloquist is talking. That's a good one, because if not, the puppet looks dead. That's really a good way to tell if someone's doing well. Two, do you forget that do you think the ventriloquist believes that the puppet is real? That's a good one, because if they're believing it, the audience is believing it. That's a really good way to, if they're really in the fantasy of believing that they're being two people, then the audience will believe that too. Three, kind of behind the scenes. I'm thinking, what's behind the scenes? Is the voice different? I guess that's a really basic one, but does it sound like the same voice coming out of two people? Because that's kind of a really, it's very simple, and it seems like it's a really simple thing that anyone could kind of do, and it is really, that's the truth, is that it is just it's a child's game. But children do different voices. Children know how to play with different voices if they want to have different characters and personas. So like, it's a simple way to make people believe an illusion, I guess. So yeah, is the voice different enough?
One thing I do want to ask you about is, I never got to do the clowning, or I had to come back around March. What is it like when you do the sort of a show in the Philip Golier School?
Oh, it's a really funny one, because I remember thinking, like, it's not, our class were very good at being like, it's not important, the show is not the end goal, and it's not a reflection of what you've learned either. That's a really important thing to, I think, remember if you get to do a show at Golier. It's really good to remember that if you have nothing in the show, that doesn't mean you've been bad or term. It doesn't mean that you haven't learned loads. It doesn't mean you haven't progressed loads. It's just about, like, it's a weird competition to try and get things into the show. It can feel really intense. It can feel like you're really, like, up against your classmates, or that you have to prove that you've learned loads by being in the show. But the experience of being in the show is amazing, because you get notes every day. Every day you come off the stage and people's numbers get cut, and people's numbers then get put into the show. The show changes every day, and that is and it's really cool to go and see the shows. I was really lucky to get to watch a lot of shows while I was in first year at Golier as well. And if you go every night, or go like 3 or 4 times, you will really see everything evolve in a way that is so kind of rapid, and just, it's extreme. It doesn't really happen that way in the real world, but it's a really kind of accelerated version of the way that a show evolves. And it's really cool to go, like, even just go from the first night and then go again on the last night of the show and see those huge changes that have been made. It's so exciting, because you see how numbers just get either reduced down to 2 minutes when they started as 7 minutes, or the opposite, something that started as a kind of tiny little image that someone did for 2 seconds on stage then becomes a whole number. And it's really, really cool to kind of it's a cool way to see the process just put in front of you, and learn from just getting to watch that kind of unfold. But also, I kind of have a funny experience with, like, ending on clown and doing my show being the clown show, because I had no clown numbers in the clown show, and didn't get to do any clown in the show. And instead, I kind of, anyone who's listening who knows about kind of Golier and the clown shows that they have this kind of funny format where there's always a presenter, and the presenter is kind of meant to be like a circus ringmastery kind of cabaret MC character, and it's always sort of, they have to be very charming, and it can be, there could be Madame or Monsieur Royale. They're always like, there's one or the other, and sometimes both. But they're kind of this like sexy. They're meant to be these like sexy people who present the clown show. And I ended up doing that, which I just was so not what I went to do the school for. So I guess my takeaway from doing 10 weeks of clown at Gaulier is I'm not funny, but I am sexy. That's all I got.
That is. What's I went through a few of the same things as you did, because you worked for Daniel, I believe, for the tour guide.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, so fun, and such a good, like, such a cool kind of counter experience to doing the school as well, where you like, it is a funny thing where every day you're in front of another, every single day you're in front of another group of strangers, and you suddenly, from doing kind of Gaulier stuff, you're very aware of like, maybe they think I'm this, maybe they're perceiving me as this, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm, and like just this kind of funny game that you're playing with yourself of being like, what if today I think it's really tempting when you're a tour guide to kind of be like, what if today I do an accent for the whole time? Or what if today I do this the whole time? And just kind of play these stupid games with yourself. But that was one of the most fun. I don't think I'll ever have a job again, or not a kind of a job outside of the arts. I don't think I'll ever have again that is as like, feels like as much of a fun playtime. I think it's like, it's a stressful job too sometimes, but like the getting to just meet another group of people every day is so fun, and such a lovely like way to especially, actually I would say the school is such a weird bubble, and you're in such a weird, like, it's just socially a bit messed up to be in that weird tiny bubble of the school all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's really good to do a job like that where you're staying in reality as well, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm meeting normal people who work normal jobs, who are talking to me about their jobs in finance and, you know, in marketing and all this stuff. They're just coming on and they're just having their holiday in Paris, and it's just like, that's such a good way to stay grounded. That's such a good way to kind of stay in touch with like, oh yeah, this is the real world. This is like, we're not all crazy clowns and performers from all over Europe and whatever. We're actually, you know, it's a group of pretty normal people that you get to meet, and yeah, that's nice.
What was the worst and weirdest experience you had being a tour guide?
Oh my god, I think I have lots of weird ones. The weirdest one, and maybe the worst, was I had a night out at Cafe Du one Friday, and I kept saying like, I'm gonna go home, and because of living in a trashy, I kept being like, I'm gonna go home, I'll get an Uber at some point, like I'll go home, I'll bow out at like 11, or okay, no, now I'll bow out at like 12, now I'll go home at this time, and then just didn't, and just stayed out until like 5 a.m. and then had to catch the train to Paris at 7, and like so I did a tour where I was still pretty much hammered from the night before, but just had to be like a walking corpse, and like, it's so funny to be like doing the like charming like, hello, I'm Lachlan, welcome to the tour, blah blah blah, this is Montmartre, this is blah blah blah, just like just doing Paris and being really trying to be as enthusiastic as possible about like the city, but also being like, I don't know if I'm gonna like fall down, I don't know if I'm gonna throw up somewhere, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do now, like all these people. And I think it was one of the biggest groups I'd had as well. I'm pretty sure it was like 20 something people, and you know, trying to get them like on and off of metros and things when you're just like hanging, it's just it's like one of the most painful but also hilarious experiences. And I think on that same tour there was a giant panda at the Eiffel Tower. Someone dressed as like a huge panda, and I was still pretty drunk, and I was like, guys, someone, just all these strangers on my tour was just like, someone needs to take a picture of me with this big panda, because this is like this is gonna make my day to have this picture after this. Making tourists who I'm meant to be taking their picture and making them take pictures of me with a giant panda. They're trying to get their pictures with the Eiffel Tower, and I was more interested in having a picture with a huge panda. It was very unprofessional, but it was a really fun tour. And I think towards the end I maybe told a couple of them, I was like, I actually was really drunk when this tour started, and they were pretty on board with that. They thought it was kind of a funny story, so I got away with it.
But I mean, I found it. I was going to start it, but then the lockdown started, and
Oh
then
man.
and the thing is, I still didn't remember most of it, some of it, so I would have just winged it. Did
Yeah.
you wing it a lot?
Oh, you when
If
you
you're,
start, you definitely wing it a lot. Yeah. When you start, you wing it a lot. It's like, but it's funny how much you learn. I've got now, so I did it for, I think, maybe just over 6 months, and I feel like now I've got all this completely useless knowledge of Paris that I'm never going to use again. I'm just never ever going to need in my life. And it's the weird stuff that you have to learn. You think it's the stuff that like you learn on the tour and it's the history that you need to learn, and it's weirdly not. It's all the weird questions that people ask you that you really have to learn that instead, because you find that people ask the same stupid questions all the time. People will be like, where's the best place to get a sandwich in Paris? And you're like, now I've got to research where's the best place to get a sandwich in Paris so that next time someone asks this, I've got an answer. It's just really stupid stuff that you end up picking up. But yeah, the tour, like, when I learned it at first, definitely a lot of winging it, and I remember feeling really bad about like kind of making up answers to questions and being like, oh god, they're gonna know, there's gonna be a historian or something on the tour, or a teacher or someone that's gonna be like, that's bullshit, that's not true. And be like, sorry. But I think as long as you like, you could get away with saying something that isn't quite true the first time someone asks that question, as long as then you go and research it and learn it for the next time. That's the way to get around that, I think, is always being like, I'm going to forgive myself for sort of making something up now, but next time I'll need to know.
and what about the travel, like telling, like when you're directing people and all that, because that
That was again, that's one of those things where like disasters do happen, and it's good. It's kind of a good exercise in like resilience, actually, in being like, you can be fun for so long as a tour guide, but then you've got to like, you do have to kind of go into a state of then being like, I'm now like, I sound like a teacher or something, and I'm having to like tell off a bunch of American 50-year-olds or something, like, you have to then go into that state of being like, no, if you don't like get on the train quickly, or you don't do this quickly, one of you's going to get left behind. Like, it's you kind of have to be a bit stern, and also then be a bit brutal about like, if someone does get lost, being like, I'm going to carry on with the tour, you can meet us at this point, or like, you're going to have to like catch us up here, and you can't like, because otherwise you end up doing a lot more than you're being paid for, and like, people will take advantage of that. It is like any customer service thing where you just have to get into this headspace of like, I'm not going to give more than I am meant to be giving right now. So yeah, it's quite tough because people do get lost, and obviously accidents happen especially with the metro, and the Paris metros are just crazy, and they can be really full, and French people don't know how to move out of the way very often, and there's a lot of that happens where you have to tell that to people. You have to kind of explain that to Americans, which is really awkward, having to be like, then like, they're not going to move for you. Those people they don't understand like spatial awareness when they're on a train. They're not going to move out your way. You have to just kind of be a bit pushy with them, otherwise they're not going to move. And it's quite a weird, like, I don't know, weird crash course in like navigating the city with people and having to just make them kind of barge their way through.
And it's a bit what's it called? I mean, a lot of robberies as well. I remember I was doing the training for the tour guide, and then one of the guys has his phone stolen. And also, one of the things is the tour starts in one of the least recommended areas in Paris. I did a bit of research, and that is supposed to be one of the dodgy areas in Paris.
Yeah. It's you have to be. When I was doing the kind of, I mean, say training, we kind of go on like a couple of tours. I always wondered why Daniel kind of didn't speak about it a little bit more, and I kind of started learning to do that, and having to just be a bit more explicit about like, when going through metro stations, just shouting about it. And it's something that actually French people will do a lot, is if they see someone pickpocket someone, they'll just be like, that person is doing that, and then they just like you just call it out, and it's this weird thing. Or even if you see someone who's suspicious and looks like they're going to, it's having to, even if they're someone who isn't going to pickpocket anyone, it's just having to be like, everyone, I think this person is going to pickpocket, or like, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird, like, it is weird. I was really lucky, actually. I think only in like 6 months of doing it, I think it only happened on my tour about 4 or 5 times, I think. Like, it was fairly rare, actually, that anyone had anything stolen on my tour. But I did have to make a lot of points of being like, don't keep your stuff in your pockets. Don't, like, yeah, just, again, it's like treating people like children a little bit and having to explain the obvious, I think. But, like, they learn pretty quickly if you're like, yeah, that will happen. And sometimes you're lucky that they've seen other people get pickpocketed as well, and then they really do learn the hard way. But saying that, I lived there for however long, and I never got pickpocketed in like 6 months of working in, yeah, it's I think if you are super alert, you're all right.
So I think for people that don't know what we're talking about, basically there's a tour guide company well, it's an offshoot of a big tour guide company, and he works for his friend in France. What's the name of the company again?
I don't even know if I worked with them. It was called like Paris Top 30 or Top 30 Tours, I guess, is I think the name of, maybe both.
Let's look it up. Daniel Pearson, Paris tour guide. Let's have a look. Paris, Daniel Pearson, San Francisco travel tour. I think no, it's Top Sites tour, isn't it? That's
like
what
Top Sites, yeah, something like that. Top 30
tour.
sites or Top Sites tour, yeah.
Yeah, and he's an ex-Golia student. Like, he's married and he's fell in love with Paris, and he's a nice guy. He's a bit of a gentle giant, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's all right, and yeah, but he no, I'm not going to say any more because he's a nice guy. But yeah, because now I got myself an official. But look, he runs a great company. He's a nice guy, and he employs a lot of Gaulier and Lecoq students to be tour guides. And
yeah, it's very cool. It's a really cool job to do. It is a really cool job to do alongside the schools, I think. Either of the schools. I met like a few cool Lecoq people as well, doing it, and got to like train a couple of Lecoq people by having them on my tour. And just, yeah, in every way, it kind of is a great way to social. Because when you're in another country, it's just really difficult to like make friends and stay as social as you would if you were in London. So it's just really, it is a really useful way to like be meeting people all the time and not be like in this weird bubble of a tiny town to the south of Paris.
And also, it's a great place for meeting American people and having sex with them.
Is that something that's happened? Have you got a story to tell?
No. But I mean, what's it called? There's a lot of Americans on tours, and they like the English accent. And
that is true. That is true.
I did get flirted a lot with. So when
that's pretty cool.
So that's.
Yeah. You do meet some cool people, and American elderly people tip bloody well. It's really nice how much they want to just chuck you their money. Absolutely, they are so funny at like. And always I'd have my best days when there'd be like one nice old lady from America, and at the end of the tour she'd go, "Oh sweetheart, we just love you, here we want to give you this," and hand you like a €20 like a €20 note, and then everyone on the tour suddenly then starts like reaching for their pockets and being like, "Oh god, I guess we have to tip as well." It's brilliant. You end up with like walking away with like €70 in hand, and just like you're like, "Thank you, old lady."
But it's a bit like, I mean, come on, you look very young, so you look like you probably remind them of their grand.
Something. Yeah. You have to play on that. Yeah. They do want to be like, my granddaughter's studying, or my grandchildren are studying acting too. They're at a theatre school too, and you're like, brilliant. Live vicariously through me.
And of course, I mean, yeah, you got the English accent. They like the English accent, and I mean, I think, of course, you know, obviously, you did pull, didn't you? So
There you go. There you go. Pull everybody on those tours. Yeah, it is nice. It's a good time. You meet, yeah, very nice people.
the one thought I do have to say about us, the school as a whole, though, like everyone in the south of Paris, like most of the people don't really learn French, and that's a bit much. Like if you,
That is
that is,
really crap. Yeah, yeah. It's. I am always embarrassed. I was, especially after first year, because I kind of came back to the UK for a few months when I finished first year, and I'd barely been to Paris even, really, in the whole of first year. I'd been like only, I mean, I've been a lot, but not as much as obviously I did when working there. And it is, everyone was like, oh, you've learned French now. And it's so embarrassing to be like, no, no one at the school speaks French. I haven't picked up anything. I've tried, but when no one's really talking it to you except, you know, except Jean-Francois at Café du Depart, you're not picking up anything. You have to like really work hard to learn. Whereas, yeah, when I was tour guiding, then suddenly you're just doing it more. You're just actually speaking the language because you kind of have to, and you pick up. I still am not fluent by any means, but like it is kind of crazy how much I picked up in the space of like a few months from not being in the Gaulier bubble.
yeah. I actually, fine. This is not gonna. I don't really care, but I actually enjoyed. When I first went to Goli, I went for a couple of weeks before the school started, and I actually enjoyed the weeks before the school started more than the school itself.
Oh,
I
interesting.
came to study the art course, but that's. Look, yeah, I don't really care. I mean, it's a bit. I like the course and all of that, but I'm not. Let's not go into. Fine, I started it, so I may as well say it.
Yeah. Go
Just
for it.
gel with everyone in the school, and that's it.
Mm,
It's not really. That's just the way it is.
mm.
But
It's a weird. It is weird. I have to say, I kind of maybe you had a similar thing to me where I had a really nice class in first year, and I really loved a lot of people, and I came to really love a lot of people. It took me quite a while though, and I did come to love a lot of people. Whereas because I took like a lot of time out, I did clown with a different class than I did first year with, and I really felt that actually I gelled with so many more people quickly in the class that I was in. Then it's a weird thing of like sometimes you get just a weird class, and I think that does happen at Gaulier where you're like, I just don't gel with this group. I just like don't feel that these are the people that I'm gonna find. That especially when it's you're really more aware of it because Philippe keeps talking about like, is there complicity? Are you having fun with these people? Do we feel that you're really having fun? And you're like, no, I don't think I am. Like, I don't think I'm having any fun. I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to have that. I think I had that as well when I first moved. I moved in October 2017, and I had the same thing where like the few weeks before school started were amazing, and I remember having that same kind of thing of being like, I love this beautiful place, I'm so happy to be in this beautiful, like this, it's so quiet here, it's so peaceful, and then going into Paris and having amazing times in Paris and being like, I love Paris, I love everything about this, I'm just exploring, I'm having kind of adventures on my own, and then the school starts and you're suddenly in this weird social bubble and you're like, I don't know that I'm having a lot of fun with this. I don't, yeah, it can be, and it's too sort of intense, and people form cliques also very quickly within the school, and it can be really, I think it can be really hard to like remind yourself that you don't want that sometimes, and be like, oh, I didn't come here to to form a cliquey group or anything like that, and I'm quite happy to not be in that bubble.
well, and also a place where a lot of them all. It's a bit like a orgy sort of. What's it called? Sort of, everyone all having sex with each other and.
Yeah.
And your turn.
Yeah. We've been actually. This is something that I've been talking about with a few friends from the school quite a bit recently. Is that in light of recent conversations within comedy about kind of rape culture and stuff, it puts the school in a really bad light too, because there is a lot of weird, it's weird, the relationships that people have and the kind of weird sexual I don't know. Everyone's just horny, and it leads to it being like a really weird place when you're like everyone is horny, but there's just this bubble of people. That's all there is, and like, what are you gonna do when you like you're just moving from person to person? It does feel like a bloody weird orgy, and it's like that isn't like a normal. You have to remind yourself that that's not normal, and go out into Paris and like hook up with people there if you want to have sex, because it's just like get out of that weird orgy bubble. You need to not be in it.
Yeah, I didn't really get involved too much, but it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny in a way when I hear this, that, whatever's going on. It's funny in a way.
Yeah.
What's it called? But yeah, Cafe Jew is basically, for anyone that doesn't know the Golo school, Cafe Jew is where what happens is like they snog and they do all this bit, and then everyone goes back to each other's houses, and then that's what happens.
That's
and then the
it.
week after they swap partners, and then it happens again. And the week after,
but it's weird because it's not even a bar. It's a cafe. So it's really weird. It's this cafe that becomes this like weird. Also, it becomes not even. It's very like anachronistic. It doesn't feel like it's from the 21st century. It feels like it's some weird like discotheque from the 80s or something as well. It doesn't feel like a modern bar. It's a weird night spot, which is like a disco in a cafe. And yeah, everyone just gets off with each other and goes to each other's houses, and yeah, and I go home alone and and wonder why I'm in France.
No, I think I want to move over there for a bit anyway, because I'm not just moved there to master the language.
Yeah, worth it. Yeah.
What else is there? Do you see? Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to talk what's going on in comedy. I mean, it's a bit. I'd say one thing. That Dave O'Reilly, the Irish comedian that sort of prompted this whole thing.
Yeah.
I thought he was an all right guy, because when I went over to Dublin last year in January, he helped me out with a couple of gigs, and he seemed like a regular nice bloke. But then you find out about he did all this and that.
It's sad because I think that's going to be the case with a lot of people in the next kind of few weeks as the conversation goes on. And even if we're guys, so even if we're not aware of it, I think what will happen is we will just stop seeing people at gigs post lockdown, and it'll be this weird thing of being like, oh, that guy doesn't get booked anymore. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I think it'll be a thing of being like, oh man, I thought that was a nice guy. Never mind, don't see him anymore. I just think, and I think it's a good time. I think it's a good time to be having the conversation. I'm kind of, I don't feel equipped to talk about it either. I think I'm the same as you in that it's like, it's not what can I really add that's constructive to the conversation besides like, I'm just angry and sad about these men and just sort of really wishing that this wasn't having to be a conversation we're having at all. And I guess it's just good that we're having it now, and it means that hopefully comedy is a better, safer place afterwards. I really hope that it is. But I also think you can sometimes tell from people's comedy what kind of people they are, and I also feel a bit guilty for not already having. I mean, I'm not generally saying this. I'm in such a bubble of like women and queer people anyway that maybe I just wouldn't be having those conversations with people. But like the types of comedians who I think you're hearing things about now, I think sometimes their comedy already told you how they felt about women anyway, and it's just us being like, haha, it's just a joke, always, until a point, and then you go, oh, I see. I think they are actually not a good person.
What do you actually buy some of the nice I sort of, I thought he was all right, the Irish guy, but didn't necessarily. Yeah, I mean, come on, like at the school and like at Goliath, and do you buy a lot of the fake niceness of a lot of people?
I don't know that I buy it. I guess because you know who your friends are, and you know who's actually in your corner. I think in comedy, I think it's really easy. I think people are much more transparent than they think they are very often in comedy. I think it's really easy to be like, that person is genuinely in my corner or on my side, and I know that person is someone that I genuinely trust. But that doesn't mean that the people that you don't trust are not going to be useful for you. And it's just a really weird thing of having to be like, that person runs a good night, or they're successful, and they're not someone that I think would have my back if I were to report something, or if this thing happened, or if I was to say that something serious was going on, or if I needed something. I don't know if that they would, or even if I want help, even if I just want help with something, even if I'm just saying, can you help me out with fringe accommodation? They probably wouldn't help me. But it's just this thing of being like, but they'll give me a gig maybe, whatever. And learning to kind of take it with a pinch of salt when people are not those, when it is false nicety, and when there is like, I don't know, it's learning to maintain yourself as a business while also having an awareness of who is your friend in that world.
You're sounding like a politician, mate.
Yeah, well, people are shit. All right, I'll say it how it is. People are horrible. Yeah, there are horrible people in it. There are horrible people in it, and I think that false nicety is coming down. I hope it's something which is falling down with this time.
I don't know what's going. It's a bit madness. Like it's going on and not like there's this person coming, that person. Like they're all saying this and that. I don't know what's happening. It's just so. Look, to be honest, I felt guilty of some of the social mistakes I make, but now I feel a lot better. Now I feel, oh, at least I'm not. Now I feel, at least I'm not doing anything that bad. At least my conscience is clear.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Did you hear? God, I don't know who it was. There's a comedian I heard talking about this. A guy, and he made this really lovely point where he was just like, it's only so long before one of your friends gets assaulted, and if you and I know that these people are your friends sometimes, and it's really difficult to see it, but like it's only so long before you go, nah, I saw these signals come in, I saw that this person was that kind of person, and because I'm a nice guy, because I'm one of the people that hasn't done anything like that, it's really easy for me to just like not say anything about that person, even if it's just having a conversation and being like, hey, maybe the way you spoke to that woman when she came off stage wasn't all right. Maybe the way you did that wasn't, what do you think? Like just opening that conversation with those guys. I don't know. It's something.
So are you looking to transition to being a stand-up comedian with clowning and puppetry?
I don't know about that. I think I do it within stand-up. It's funny because actually in this country especially, about 80% of the gigs that I do are stand-up gigs, and it's a weird thing to like go and be like, I know now that I'm going to really stick out like a sore thumb by coming in with a puppet and doing something that's totally not about intellect, and it's totally not about me saying something funny. It's all just bloody idiocy and me standing here and making a fool of myself. But there's just not enough like alternative comedy gigs. There aren't like there isn't a market wide enough within the cabaret or alternative comedy world to like be always doing those gigs, especially not in London. If you're anywhere else but London, you just have to do lots of stand-up gigs, I guess. But I don't think it's that kind of out of place, actually. It's kind of a weird thing where I always think it's going to be worse than it is. I'm always like, oh, this is going to be really weird, and everyone's going to think I'm really weird at this gig. And then I kind of do it, and my stuff goes down well, and I'm happy. And I go, oh, actually, this audience wanted something bizarre.
To be honest, mate, I've been gigging for a while and I know a lot of them. I like a lot of comedians, but no, actually, no, that's not true. What's it called? About 75% of them, no, 70% of them I like, 30% of them can eat shit. But what's it called? What you're saying about, yeah, it's what you say? You said there's not enough cabaret gigs. Have you done my gig? I saw that you were applying for instant laughs or
I
something.
was applying
Did you
for it,
do
yeah,
my?
back in like, when was that? Like back in January, maybe, in real life, yeah. When we had real gigs, remember that? Yeah, no, I haven't done it. I'd love to.
Oh, I don't know. Often do the bookings for it. It's often I get 3 other people to run it for me. So I just want to check. But it's
Oh
yeah,
no, I
it's an
haven't done it.
Hammersmith.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be
Uh,
really nice.
yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, you sound quite shocked by what's gone on with the cases of this abuse by that male comedian, that woman, all that. I'm not surprised because I know a lot of them, and I know how sort of sneak. I know them, so I'm not surprised by anything.
I don't think I'm
Whatever
shocked.
you
I don't think I'm
say,
shocked. I
I'm
think
not
I'm,
surprised. A lot of them did it. I'm absolutely
yeah,
not surprised.
no, I don't think I'm shocked because I think, I'll be honest, I think if I'm really going to kind of let down like the kind of guard of politician, I think like it's any career where there's going to be straight men in the place, not even just straight men, it's any career where there's men.
What?
Um,
What?
I'm saying there's anything where there's it's built on patriarchy. We work in an industry that is built on patriarchy. The problem with Gaulier as a school, as a system, is that like it's a via negativa system where women are put in a corner still, and it's built on patriarchy, and it's still built on men taking up more space than they should. It's not like Gaulier is just a weird little reflection of the whole industry, where like of course that's the case, and it's like I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised to hear these things are happening. I'm just trying to be optimistic that this is a good time to start people actually having the conversations about it, and that maybe when we do get back into a world of gigging, it's going to be very different. I hope. But I think we also will be maybe surprised at who, like I said, I think we will maybe be surprised at who doesn't show up at gigs anymore and who isn't invited into circles anymore. I think that still will be like because like you said, you had this like nice experience with being, you know, helped out by this person, and then that's the person that's kind of been an inciting thing. So I think it's not surprising that it's happening in our industry by any means. It's not surprising that it's happening at all. But I think it will be surprising when, I don't know, I'm not sure. It will be surprising who doesn't show up anymore, I think.
Being what's it called? Being part of the queer community, you must encounter the racism you receive is probably very quiet, or someone will say things behind your ear, or they'll say it quietly. They won't overtly be homophobic or be this and that. I'm guessing you must have some with yourself and people in the little comments here and there. Maybe even earlier, people said something. Lachlan, you like whispered something in your ear.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that I think actually, yeah, I'm still a man though, and I think there is a weird thing of being like, this is what I'm seeing with these, when women are coming out with these stories at the moment, I'm going, oh, I have never had to face that. Like, I've never had to deal with that because and I'll be honest, I don't look like a straight man. And when I come off of stage, when I go on stage, I'm very aware of that. And I'm very aware that like, I'm coming on stage and people are having this immediate reaction to like, this does not look like a straight man, but still I don't look like a woman. So I'm very lucky to not be treated in this, it's just a huge thing that like, there is a clear gap when I'm hearing these stories, and I'm hearing these very subtle things that happen to women when they come off of stage, when they're told, wow, you were actually good, or wow, I didn't expect this, and blah, blah, like all of those things. I haven't had to face that. I haven't had that ever, and I'm very lucky to not have to have that. Yeah. And that's bizarre. I'm the one that's going on stage with a puppet. If anyone's going to be told, I didn't expect to like that, it really should be me. That should be coming at me, not just a woman with a microphone, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But you're right. I think I've had actually very few gigs comparatively where I've left and been like, it was kind of maybe a homophobic undertone, or there was something weird going on there. Surprisingly, not in like the worst gigs I've had have been in like Brighton and places where like you really expect like a big friendly very very accepting atmosphere, and actually I've had like a lot of more from audiences than from promoters, but like have just had some really horrible kind of homophobic audiences and things like that there, where you're like, oh, that's really weird that you're in the gay capital and I'm having the worst of it here. But I don't know, that's kind of, yeah, more overt then, I guess. But you're right, there probably is stuff that goes on behind the scenes and I don't know about. Yeah, I don't know.
What's I mean, being, I think with all minority groups, unless you're sort of straight white class middle class male, that you're going to get some stuff of people, and you must have had a lot of that through your life. Someone saying that you're, oh, you know, you're probably used to all the insults by now, and you've probably got a list of comebacks, or you got a list of, oh, this don't hurt me anymore. Say something more original.
Yeah, that's true. It's not. Yeah, maybe that's true. It's probably not surprising. I think it's not surprising. But saying that, also, I think it's only been in the last kind of year that I've let my comedy be queer. That's kind of an interesting thing, I think, that's happened. It's only been very recently, and surprisingly because of people I've worked with at Gaulier, I think. That I've been like, oh, I see, I'm allowed to do that. I think I don't have to shy away from like, just because it's a puppet thing, or because that's already pretty weird, and just because I'm doing that, just because I'm on a stand-up bill and I'm not a stand-up, doesn't mean that I shouldn't also then be unafraid to kind of go to talking about queerness and have that be a big part of what I'm doing, and just being kind of braver in that, and wanting and the problem is like you can't not do that when you've done Gaulier for a long time, I think, because the school makes you so aware of who you are. It gives you like a big sense of like, oh yeah, I'm a queer person. When I go on stage, people are aware of that. So to sort of not talk about it, or to try and kind of pretend that I'm not, in order to do comedy that feels kind of acceptable, is just boring for people. It's reducing yourself to nothingness if you don't want to admit, like, everyone in the room sees that you're a queer person, you know? So it's sort of like, why would you not talk about it? Why would you not be, it's like hiding something that everyone knows, and then that's just kind of alienating for everyone in the room instead, or it's sort of, it's just boring. It's making yourself kind of, if you're not going to do you, then you're doing nothing.
It's interesting. What's yeah, it's funny how things, no, but there's still a lot going on, and I think that it's always going to be about, you're always going to have a sleazeball that's going to try and do something to women.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I think that's true, but I think we are going to get better at just listening, which is that's the main thing. Is like it's guys like us who haven't done that, who haven't been those men, who haven't done that. It takes us just like, not just listening and going, oh, I'm really sorry that happened to you, but being like, oh, I'm not going to work with that person again. It just takes that to change a space, and to make sure that then when people come to those gigs, those people who are the problem are not there. Like, I agree with you that those men are always going to exist, and no matter how much you reduce those things, those men are going to find their ways of wriggling in. But it's about how we listen, I think.
There is one thing that does need to be considered, though. There's, if you're throwing it's very easy for someone to throw accusations like that at someone. So I feel also there needs to, because if someone just saying that could easily demonize someone, and what if they're innocent? what if like that's the issue too? So you got there was a thing in Big Brother where this woman tried to make one of the guys who's married seem like he was a pervert or this and that to her, but he wasn't. But she really sort of tarnished him, and I mean, it went back on her. But I mean, like, it's very easy for a woman to make it up as well. That's the issue too.
It is. It is absolutely. But I think we're also, in the way that our laws handle cases as it is, in the way that our laws take care of cases of rape anyway, I think we're at a stage where it's just, I think, believing victims first is where we need to be. It just is the way that we need to be at this point, because so many people are just not are not believed for so long, and those individual women who do lie are not just women. I shouldn't just say it's women, because there's lots of men who I'm sure, especially within the queer world, who've done the same thing, and there's a lot of men who also might lie about being sexually assaulted by men, and that also happens. But there's a lot, those people who are lying they are a problem, and it's a problem that is, unfortunately, this sounds like a really cruel thing to say maybe, but that's a smaller problem. It's not, we're at a place where the issue of believing victims doesn't happen anyway. It doesn't happen. So we've got to do that first, I think. I don't know how to speak about this eloquently and to say this in a way which doesn't make it sound like I'm saying kind of fuck those innocent men, because I'm not saying that, and I think that is not what should happen. But we're just not in the space yet to be assuming that women are lying. That's the problem itself, and it's those liars who make it 1,000 times harder for victims. Yeah, I don't know what else to say on that. It's just, I don't think we're ready yet to be like combating the kind of liars first, because of the amount of people who just already go unbelieved when they're telling the truth.
And Bill Burr makes a good joke in it, like the saddest way to pick a woman up is to pretend you're a feminist. And there's a lot of guys that are sort of posting it, sharing it, like they're saying, "Oh, this is outrageous," that. But in their mind, some of them are cookie, and they're thinking those things. And they're gonna what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, "Oh, that guy did that to you. Oh, he's so horrible. Let's have a hug. I'll walk you home." Oh, and then she goes, "Oh, he's a nice guy. This and that." And then there's a lot of that that's gonna happen too.
Yeah. And again, you see that in even within the Gaulier. Gaulier is such a tiny bubble, but you see that within there as well. Like, that's again a thing which I think countless times I've seen that happen within that bubble as well, of being like, look at all the nice men here, look at these lovely guys who are feminists in this bubble, and again I think it's a lot of sleazy behavior that goes on.
Oh, I know a lot of them for who they are. Well, I know a lot of them for who they are. Well, no, not all the. Do you think all the women are actually duped by it, or do you think they're just pretending?
I think no. I have to say, I think. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for the women. I have no idea what they're thinking. But I know that there are women who are aware of what's happening, and who are good at like being like, I need a safe walk home because it's night, and then being good at being like, no, you can't come in by. They are like, I think a lot of them are more tuned in than these men think that they are to start with.
No, there is a lot. It did surprise me that some people actually believe some of them are nice, because some of them are definitely not nice. Shall I name names or shall I not? Let's not name names.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. God, I don't know about that. But yeah, maybe it's time for that. Maybe not here. Maybe not in this. But I think a friend of mine, a Gaulier person, said, we just need a big list, don't we? And I just went, yeah, that is true. I know it sounds really simplistic, but we just need a bloody big list that we can just be like, oh yeah, don't book that person anymore. Nope. Like, just like, no, or not even about booking them, but just, being like, oh, cool. I know that person's a bit shady. I know what they've done with my friend. Cool. I
Ooh,
don't need to.
yeah, it's a funny little school in a way. I don't know. I don't know if it's for me as a whole. It's a bit not my favorite people. They're probably Shanice. Do you know her, the Singaporean woman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love her. She's
And
really funny. I saw her do a, a really funny thing at Lost Cabaret a few weeks back. Um, yeah, she's really cool. I didn't get to see her, I don't think, on stage very much when she was doing Le Jeu, but I think, yeah, I've been following some of the stuff she's been doing, and she's funny.
it's yeah, it's what's it called? Forgotten already. What were we talking about again?
What were we talking about? What was this about?
Oh yeah, yes, about oh about yeah about fake plasticine stuff. I don't know. No, but they're quite weak and pretend nice blokes as well. They're not real men. They're 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 quite weak and placid type of characters.
There's a weird thing about like, um, I also think I've had it a lot more. It's kind of weird because I did some fringes before I went to the school, and then kind of just grew up a bit, I guess, in the time between. So that when I kind of went back to do fringes in this country after doing first year, I was then so much more alert of just like, oh my god, the people who keep winning all these awards at fringes are the same people who are like those guys in the Gaulier bubble, and they're these, they're like these Oxford guys, and they've, it's weird. It's a weird thing. It feels like there's a lot of praise and love for these men who never not had praise and love, I think. Um,
I spoke to do you know Elf Lions?
yeah, well, I don't know her actually. I've never met her. I'm a big fan. I'm an absolute fan.
What's her stand up like? I saw a video of her. She does a lot of funny voice and movements, but I've been doing a few courses with her. And she's
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. She's very cool. Yeah, she's one of those people that like, especially before Gaulier, I was kind of aware of her and saw her stuff and was like, one of those people that you're like, where did she learn to do this? And then you're like, oh God, okay, I guess I have to go to Gaulier. I guess if I want to be good, I've got to go. Like, yeah, she's very, very good, very talented.
yeah, she was all right. I had a chat with her. She was trying to help with this and that. I got a bit nervous though. She was a bit too inquisitive. When someone's too inquisitive, I get nervous. I don't like being too open with people. She was yeah.
I can be like that.
I don't like that. I like to keep people at a distance because you don't know what people are.
That's
Like,
true. Yeah, it is weird. I think, yeah, I think I'm similar in that, like, it's taken me a long time to start working with other people, especially in like in the ventriloquist stuff. Like, it's taken me so long to find people that I actually want to kind of have direct me and things like that, because I just think I don't trust anyone, and it does feel like being in on that process then feels like letting them into like a lot of stuff. It feels like letting them in on like a whole world of you stuff, and they are going to be inquisitive. And um, I'm quite lucky. I started working with Lorna, who was in my class.
oh,
Yeah.
she was always a nice girl. She seemed all right, but
She's really cool, really
I
cool.
don't know. She deleted me on Facebook for some reason. I don't know.
No, no.
I don't, no, I'm not saying bad or anything. I just don't
Oh
know.
no, what happened?
I don't know.
Oh, oh, you have to ask her about it. She's very cool. I started work. She directed my show before Christmas, and it was kind of one of those things where you're like, was one of the first people that I've worked with where I've been like, this is a good collaboration. I feel really excited about this, and it's not, and I feel like I want to let them poke those kind of questions and be a bit more inquisitive, because I think I trust that they understand what I'm trying to do, or they understand kind of the thing I'm going for. But it's rare. It's good to be aware that that's rare, and not let those people, and just like take your space. I think that's a big thing that I've kind of been learning, I think, in the last few years, is just like, you don't need, just because someone's successful doesn't mean that they're going to help you or that they're useful to you as an artist. And like, it's good to it's good to know what you can, you know, get from them in a kind of professional sense, but that doesn't mean that in an artistic sense you're going to get anything from them. It doesn't mean that they're going to fulfill or help you find anything. And like that, you just have to take that space and know when it's your right to be like, nah, this is my work. I don't really need you to like give your notes or give your. There's a big thing in comedy. I found this at stand-up gigs actually. There's a big thing where like people will come up to you afterwards and just be like, can I tell you what you did well? Or not even ask, but just be like, I've got notes on what you did. And I think there's something in that that's really interesting to not ask if you want that feedback. I think it's a weird thing of being like, I'm sort of, you know, I kind of know who I trust. I kind of know whose opinions I want. And I don't know. All feedback is good. I understand like why you should really want to hear what people are saying, but I think also if it feels like someone's kind of underselling you and your kind of sense of awareness. It feels like they think you don't have the right level of self-awareness to leave a gig and be like, I know what went well, I know what bits really hit, I know what bits I need to work on. When someone's like, let me tell you what worked, and you're like, oh, well, I did it, like I know I know what worked. The audience either laughed or didn't. Yeah, I don't know, there's something kind of interesting in that, and I think it's something it would be nice to kind of normalize asking people if they want notes. It's cool to like be like, hey, I have some opinions, do you want to know? But it's kind of weird to just insist that you're enough of an artistic genius that you can come and like tell me what needs working on.
I think if they're too forceful, then it's a bit you don't know. But I mean, it depends on who it's coming from, and also I think it's good to go and look for feedback in a way. But sometimes the ones that are doing it aren't really always as smart. Yeah, I don't know. You have to take it with a pinch of salt of who's doing it. You have to assess who the person is. Yeah. As you said, that's what you do there. One thing I want to talk about is how did you what's it called? How do you deal with how have your values changed during your like this? We'll reach the impasse, and what I'm doing, making a theme of the podcast, is I want to get to know the person, and I'm going to ask. There's about 3 or 4 questions that I'll ask. So one of them is, how have your values changed during your lifetime?
Oh, interesting. God, that's a really interesting one. During lockdown, or ever?
No, how has it changed during the years? So yeah, let's say
in the life.
Yeah.
Oh.
So let's make it specific. How has the lockdown changed you? What's your mindset now? What's
Well, I guess even just since the start, I guess kind of knowing that I don't have to create constantly. It's been a really weird thing for like, I think previously in my life, I've always thought if I'm not productive, well, I've just been very depressed when I'm not productive. Like that's kind of a typical thing, is to just like, when I'm not doing stuff, I'm used to this kind of behavior pattern of not doing stuff, getting depressed, then continuing to not do stuff. So I think that's why kind of the past few years I've just like been so proactive and just have like not stopped. And then I think I had this kind of sense of identity where it's like, I'm this really productive person now. I'm just this person who's incredibly productive and gets stuff done. So then when this all started and I went, I kind of don't want to do anything. I genuinely don't necessarily want to make stuff. That doesn't mean that I haven't made stuff, but like it's taken me ages to get to the point where I'm comfortable with being like, no, there's a pandemic happening and I can take this time to not do things. And it doesn't mean that I'm failing or that I'm not productive as a person. It just means not doing stuff right now. And so I guess just being cool with that and knowing that it doesn't mean having to slip into depression or something. You can just actually take a break, and I'm getting quite good at that. I guess that's something. And
Yeah.
Because I sort of don't judge other people for taking breaks, I think. So it's kind of learning to not do that to yourself and being like, if other people say that they don't want to make stuff for a while and they're going to just use this time to learn things or read or whatever, like, then I wouldn't judge them for that. So why am I judging myself so harshly for not making videos or not doing gigs online? And yeah, kind of just being cool with not doing it for a bit.
Uh, what else do I want to talk about? Yes. What is a quote that you live your life by? What's the one quote that's inspired you and that you want to live your life by?
Oh God. I was thinking about this one yesterday, actually. This is quite a good one. I'm trying to think how it goes, but it's one that I put, I think, in at the start of one of my books, actually, and it's like, a writer lives in a state of astonishment beneath any. I think it says, beneath any sense of good or evil, a writer has a deeper state of just wonder at everything. And I think I'm feeling that a lot at the moment. I think that's a really interesting one. I don't know if I live my life by it, but it's something which, like, I don't think I choose to live my life by it. I think it is kind of just true of how I feel a lot of the time, and it's quite a true one for right now. With everything that's just happening in the world, it just feels like it's this thing of, underneath any sense of underneath any sense of morality and like what is right and what is wrong and whose side am I on, is this just state of kind of feeling so surprised at the world, and just like just having to take it as someone who has no gauge of what's right or wrong, in this kind of innocent state of just going, I am just taking in the world and how kind of overwhelming it is right now, and just letting that kind of wash over me a little bit before choosing to kind of gauge a sense of good or evil, I guess. I don't know if other writers kind of feel that too, but I think that's something which I kind of have felt very strongly recently, is that it's having to kind of have that objectivity to start with that lies underneath everything before kind of being able to even comprehend choosing a side or whatever. Of course there's a sense of morality, of course I know what's good and bad. I just mean it's like, yeah, this kind of overwhelmed state that comes before everything.
But what is the quote? If you like, there's quotes like
If I
Joe
read
Rogan
it,
says, "Live your life like you're the hero of your own movie." But what's the quote that you want to live your life by?
um, I'm I'm gonna try and find that one. I can't remember who said that one that I just said, but I guess. Oh God, it's gonna sound horrible to say one by Philippe now. I don't want to sound like I'm that much of one of the kind of cult members. But Philippe did say in first year this thing about kind of, I think he said, you have to not want too much, and you need to be able to find 7 beautiful things every day. And I think that's something which I have lived my life by for quite a while. And that certainly kind of helped me find a healthier mental state in the world, I think. That it's kind of little things, I think, that should bring you pleasure before everything else. Before you can kind of aim for kind of these big dreams that you have for the world. If you can't find 7 beautiful things every day, why should you be the person on stage offering to bring joy to other people? I think is a really interesting thing. So that's probably the thing I live by, I guess, as a mantra, is like finding 7 beautiful things every day. Oh, and then actually, Philippe's wife said this thing. This is something I've lived by for ages. But Michiko said this thing towards the end of Clown, where she was like, "Everyone is waiting for an excuse to be happy, and you have to be happy for no reason at all." And I think that's something which I've been really trying to. It's a really bloody hard one at the moment to kind of live by, but I think that's kind of a really cool one that I like a lot as an idea of like, just, and that's what clown is, I guess, as a thing, is like this idiot who wakes up and is just happy and just has no basis for that, has no excuse to be happy, and has to be genuinely quite ignorant to like a lot of bad stuff, but just is happy and like for absolutely no reason at all. I quite like that one as well. You just have to be happy for no reason.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, um,
You are still quite young, 21.
yeah, yeah. God, that's a really good one. I think, um, wow, so that's such a hard one. Um, I think I'd say, I think I'd like to go back to kind of myself at like 15 maybe and be like, you don't you don't know who you are yet, and that's good. I think that's something which I'd like to be able to tell my younger self is like, stop trying to build up any sense of identity, because because I think that's a really refreshing thing is when you get to like maybe 19 and you start to realize you have no idea who you actually are, and then you start to find who you actually are, because you're sort of like in this state of just being like, I have no idea, and I'm just going to let myself kind of plod around in the world, and let people kind of tell me who I am. I'm not going to tell other people who I am. I don't need to do that really. Um, it's just, I think I wish I could tell my younger self to stop trying to build up kind of layers of identity. I think because none of it's just all like putting a kind of weird prison on yourself, and it's just it restricts you so much to try and tell others who you are, and kind of put yourself in that box. I think it's easier to just like let yourself exist. You will know who you are, and you'll lose it again, and then you'll shave your head, and then and think that your identity's changed. It's always you. You're always yourself. You're always that same person that you were as a kid, even. Um, and all the rest of it is just like this stuff you're putting on top of yourself and just piling yourself in under such like heavy ideas of being a person. I kind of wish I could tell. I think myself at like 15, 16, I wish I could just be like, you don't know who you are, and it's fine. No one does. No one does, especially at your age. It doesn't bloody matter.
Um, what? Yes, that's the question. Yeah. What? What would you rather be in terms of like being successful? Would you rather be someone that goes through a struggle and makes it after a long journey, or would you rather have fame given to you and it be quick, but you have a lot shorter career, but it doesn't mean anything, but you get there way easier?
Oh, I suppose the struggle. I suppose that. But I think we all want to think that, don't we? I think everyone wants to think that they're like the noble one that would rather not have things handed to them. I think I do what I think even just like redefining success. I don't know that like huge fame is like the real, and I think because of the internet, even that is like a totally new concept. What even I don't even know what fame is anymore. I really have no sense of like what would be what would be fame that would make me happy now, because I think it used to be a bit clearer, this idea like when you get to be on TV and you've got like 20,000 people who will come and watch your show in a year, that's being famous, like that's being successful. But now it's like, well, you can do a TikTok and like 7,000 people share it, and then is that success? Is that fame? I don't even like, not really, but there's this new measure of fame and everything now. So I think it's really hard to like define what would be that like 15 minutes of fame. If something was going to happen to you quickly and you were going to suddenly be kind of catapulted into a successful life, would it be like through a viral video? Would it be something like that? Because it's just like, I don't know that I want that at all. I don't know that that's really how I would. I don't like, even then I'm not sure I'd feel like I earned it. um but then, yeah, I don't know. I guess I think probably the struggle one, because I think much better you'd have a much better sense of self. You'd probably have a much better sense of who your friends are in the world. You'd have a much better sense of, um, you'd probably enjoy it more. I'd say you'd probably enjoy that success more if it hasn't just happened to you and you feel like it's something you've genuinely worked for, and you're like, and now I'm here, and I know that this, even just knowing how like fleeting that might be. is even good for you, I guess. Even just knowing that like that might not last, that might not be more than, you know, a year, but knowing that you've got a lot to fall back on then. If that then goes absolutely horrendously wrong, you've had that struggle, so you know that there are good people in the world that can look out for you and that you'll work again and you'll have those people behind you. I think it'd be really scary to be suddenly famous, especially at a young age. I think I kind of feel for a lot of these like influencers at the moment who are having to, they're just being called out like left, right, and center for problematic things, and it's true that they need to learn that those things are not okay, but there has been nobody their entire life telling them, please don't wear that, it's appropriative, or please don't get that, you know, please don't say that word because it's not okay for you to say it. No one has told them that, and then they've become famous and they're still children, and like that's a scary place to be in, you know, really. So I'd say no. I don't think I want that. It seems like a really weird existence to be thrown into.
So you want to go for this struggle if you had a choice?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
But you never know until the fruit's given.
You never know. You never know till you're deep into the struggle, and then you go, when is something going to happen to me?
It's like someone saying, what's it called? Here's Sarah. She's not as good looking at the moment, but if you get to know her in 20 years, she'll taste. Wait a second. Let me rephrase that. You'll have a much better relationship, more fulfilling experience if you stay over long term. Or you go with Julia. She's equipped in every area. You have a 1 minute of pleasure, but your rest of life is going to be a misery. But she'll be really tempting, and you can't have that for a bit. It's like comparing to someone. Would you like to have vegetables, or would you like to have McDonald's for? It's that sort of thing, and the majority of people probably would choose McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of
But I think in a way that's why I like that thing that Philippe said. I think like that's what I get about that quote, is that it's like understanding that if you want the success and you want that, like you have this dream of what you're going to be as a comedian, as an artist, you've got to hang on to that as this slightly more precious thing maybe, and that's why you need the struggle to really understand having that dream. And then the 7 beautiful things is the like, that's kind of the McDonald's. I think it's like being like, still understand that this dream and this like idea of everything you've ever wanted is not all that exists. That's not all the good that you're going to have in your life, and all the other stuff that comes along the way, all those little things that you're going to pick up from other people, the kind of relationships you're going to have with people along the way, the kind of adventures you're going to have from just, even if you go and do a Fringe festival and it's awful and you do the worst show ever and you don't make you lose all your money, what if you have just an amazing time and you go and have this, you know, you get to see a beautiful place and you get to see other shows that really inspire you. All of that is like the 7 beautiful things that like, they're still feeding you. You're being fed by other stuff besides your own success. You're being fed by this other quicker, it's like it's McDonald's in that it's like it's quicker in fulfilling you, it's quicker in giving you something. It's not having to wait for this amazing mystical kind of ethereal dream, but like short-term small things that keep you happy, and learning that you need those to kind of counter the struggle of working towards this bigger thing. I think.
Right, well, thank you very much for appearing on the podcast. Take care, Lachlan, and I'll probably post this in probably a week or two. I'll send you a link.
Cool.
And yeah, do you have anything you want to say to people? Any messages? Just say hello to mum and dad. What's going
on? Nope. I'm living with my mum. I don't need to, she knows I'm here. It's all good. I'm gonna say everyone, you don't need to be productive right now, if you don't feel like being productive, you can wait until real gigs happen if you want.
Okay, take care, Lachlan, and I'll see you soon.
You too. Thanks, Marvin.
Au revoir.